Have you ever noticed that a lot of times things happen in threes? Like if a famous person dies, then a second, and then a third um, tends to happen. Natural disasters, you'll have an earthquake, and then there'll be another earthquake, and then another earthquake. um, well, now it seems to be happening that way with fires, but unfortunately, it's a lot more than three. Hello, and welcome to Sweet Home California. My name is Jennifer, and call me a crazy conspiracy theorist, but I had been noting that we've been getting news of a lot of different fires happening recently in the last year or so. Um, and in like modern plants, Walmart distribution centers, Amazon distribution centers, food plant processing centers, um, our local UPS distribution center went up in flames not long ago. And I'm like, there can't be any connection, can there? Well, um, BCP, Black Conservative Patriot, did a video on it yesterday, and if he's seeing it, and I have been thinking about it, my sister noticed it, and she sent me the video as well. Maybe there's something to this. Why is it that all these places are being burned down to the ground? Now, in BCP's video that he shared yesterday, he was also talking about even to the day that there were a number of these places that were like starting Wednesday night into Thursday morning for a large majority of them. Now, it wasn't that way with all of them, but there was just a lot that seemed to be happening between Wednesday and Thursday. And I was reading a lot of the articles on these, and they never seemed to have a a cause. They never published the cause. Let me show you some of these articles. Hold on just a second. All right, so all right, so there we go. So this article here from Vision Times. Now, I know they may not be a well-known. I never heard of them before, but they did some of the footwork on kind of bringing all of these stories together, and they don't even have all of the stories. And this was just published today. When I started typing in fire at processing plants, this is the first one that came up. And so we've had Azure Standard Headquarters, which is they describe themselves as the United States' largest independent food distributor. Their headquarters burned to the ground. We have Taylor Farms on April 13th in California, food processing plant. I think that was the one that was in Salinas, which is not far from where my in-laws used to live in Fresno. Uh, that went up in a blaze, resulting. Let's see. Oh, and also they had to evacuate some people. So there were 1,000 employees there. Luckily, it doesn't look like anyone was hurt, but they had to evacuate a number of residents surrounding it, and told others to just shelter in place. Then there's another one at the Gem State Processing. Same day as the Taylor fire, an airplane crashed into Idaho Gem State Processing Plant. Unfortunately, the pilot did not survive, but no employees were injured. Um, the pilot did die, and said the woman's distraught father attributed the cause of the crash to a 60-foot chimney on the roof of the plant that allegedly disperses a large amount of steam. I don't know why a plane would be flying anywhere close enough that they would have been impacted by that steam and then still would have then landed in the plant that apparently caused the problem. But that it processes 18,000 acres worth of potatoes each year. Now, in this particular case, it says the facility is largely undamaged, so hopefully then they'll be able to continue processing things. The Maricopa Food Pantry lost 50,000 pounds worth of food in a fire that occurred just 15 minutes after the food bank closed. Shearer Foods on March 22nd in Oregon was gone after a boiler explosion and a subsequent fire annihilated the facility. The outlet reported that the boiler was fueled by natural gas and that the company supplied potato and corn chips throughout the western United States. And it talks about how they think that these are not very isolated. There was also on March 16th a massive fire wiped out a Walmart fulfillment center in Plainfield, Indiana. There was also a New Hampshire East Conway beef and pork disaster that struck on April 11th, where a fire broke out serious enough that it took respondents 16 hours to extinguish. Local news outlets, however, described the company as merely a local butcher shop, and 2 cows were lost in the disaster. So in terms of that Walmart fire, though, I was, they said it was a 600,000 square foot warehouse. And this was, oh, this is a different one. This is another Walmart fire. This one actually happened in 2020. But this one for a 600,000 square foot warehouse that completely was obliterated. Millions and millions of dollars of items were lost in this fire, not to mention, of course, the cost to the building. And they are offering a $5,000 reward. And I've not been able to find anything from this particular fire that says that they ever figured out what the problem was. We also had a UPS fire in Lancaster, and the cause of that one seems to have been their natural gas vehicles that they use. So natural gas is supposed to be, a little bit more environmentally friendly than diesel or gas, but here's the big problem. So, from what I've heard from a neighbor who is connected with the community, she said she was told that one of the trucks was had an odor of natural gas, that it was leaking, and told the mechanic. Mechanic said, "Yeah, just park the truck, over there next to all these other trucks." And he was continuing to work on another vehicle with an open propane torch. And supposedly that is what caused the fire. And as you can see from this photo here, it destroyed all the trucks that they had right there in line, and it destroyed the entire distribution hub for uh, the Lancaster Palmdale area in California. But you know, what is causing all of this? Especially with today's fire suppression requirements that we have nowadays. Um, how is it that these fires start and then it still takes 70 firefighters or 200 firefighters or 300 firefighters to come and extinguish these blazes? And then, of course, everything is a complete and total loss. But regardless of what the cause may be, these things seem to be happening, and I don't know if this is unusual or we're just bored to tears with everything else that's going on in our lives, that we're focusing on these totally unrelated fires. And this just happens all the time. That this is a normal thing. I mean, we're a big country. We've got 300 million people, 50 states. Maybe it's a normal thing that every year several huge fires happen that affect these distribution supply lines, our food. Um, Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'd appreciate it. But regardless of what the cause that may be, and regardless of whether or not this is a normal thing, it does highlight that you just never know when you're going to have a problem with your food distribution, with any other kind of supply distribution, your food production. Um, so it's best to be prepared. I know that there are people out there like, oh, why are you prepping? In fact, I had a lunch with a relative, and she's like, why are you prepping? What's wrong? What's going on? It's like, it's best to be prepared. You just never know what's going to go on. You don't know if you're going to have an earthquake or a fire or um, tornadoes, whatever. Just it's best to be prepared. Have food, have working vehicles. If you've got an RV, have that with stuff that you think you may ever need if you ever needed to leave the area. If you're, especially those of you that live in hurricane-prone areas, you know what it's like to get that notice that you need to evacuate. And what are you going to do? It just helps if you've got things already planned in advance um, to help out with that sort of thing. And with the cost of everything going up, yes, you could invest in the stock market, but that could be overvalued and it could be worth half that in a week. I don't know. I'm not a financial analyst. I have no idea. But I just think that right now, if you've got some extra money, I think you're better off putting that extra money in things like food and physical assets that you could actually use, means of production, um, tools. Um, Invest in your greenhouse so that you can grow your own food. Invest in some animals so that you can, have your own meat right there on your own property if you live in an area where that's possible. So anyhow, let me know what you are doing in generalities. If you have any tips that you could share with people, and I appreciate it.